Hello, my friends. Welcome back, my true crime junkies. It's been a while. I would like to welcome everybody to today's episode. If you are new, welcome to my podcast. We hope that you stay and subscribe for new upcoming episodes. I just want to let everybody know that today's episode will be the last one for 2023. I will be returning with new episodes starting in January. So if you follow me on Instagram, Facebook, or on Twitter, you can receive notifications about new episodes coming up. And if you subscribe to any of the podcast platforms like Spotify or Apple podcasts, you will receive notifications as well. So I hope you stay tuned. So now let's begin. Today's episode, we will be discussing the cold case of Stephanie Wasilishin. This case goes back to 1993. Let's begin telling you a little bit more about Stephanie. She was born in Chicago. Not much is available online right now about her upbringing and her childhood. Her mother's name is Bernice. And she was raised by her stepfather, Reginald Evans. And Stephanie does have 3 sisters and 2 brothers, which you'll hear more about them later on throughout the episode. When this case happened, Stephanie was 32 years old. She has 2 daughters, Nicole Lee, her nickname is Nikki, and Christina Courtney. Stephanie was a pastry chef in Sedona, and this case does have a lot going on right now. It's still an open case. Unfortunately, until today's date, it's still unresolved. So let's start and take a deep look into the unsolved case, more of the details. Right now, we do know that a medical examiner ruled her death a homicide, but the county's attorney's office declined to prosecute the suspect twice. We'll get more into that later on. Let's give you a little bit more about her life. Stephanie lived in Sedona in a home surrounded by beautiful lush trees, red rocks of Sedona, and in a comfy 2-bedroom house on a Coffee Pot Drive. That's the name of the area, and that's where it can be found. Stephanie worked as a pastry chef at a restaurant named Pietro's, where her and her longtime boyfriend at that time, he was a chef, 31 years old, Russ Peterson. Together, they raised her family, her 2 daughters. At that time, Christina was 3 years old. Nicole, she was 10. But they are from Stephanie's previous relationship. So in this case, Peterson stepped in as their stepdad. A time that was locked away in Nikki's memories. She remembers what exactly happened on this date of July 9th of 1993. I'm going to quote a statement she gave. She stated, "She was sitting on the couch and went up behind her, and I wrapped my arms around her. I gave her a hug and a kiss, and I told her good night. And that was around 11 p.m. on July 8th of 1993, end quote. This is one of Nikki's statements. And just hours later, a 911 was called. Peterson called 911. This call was made around 1:40 a.m. in the morning, nearly 30 minutes after an alleged fight. Peterson tells the 911 operator, quote, "I need help. There has been a very bad accident. Me and my wife were in an argument and she is hurt very bad," end quote. He proceeded to tell the operator, "She has been shot," and the operator asked him, "Who shot her?" And Peterson responded, "I don't know who," end quote. And the operator responded back to him, You don't know who shot her?" Peterson replies, She might have shot herself, end quote. Inside the couple's bedroom, Stephanie laid on the floor lifeless. The girls were asleep when the officers arrived minutes later. Later that morning, Peterson is interviewed for the first time by authorities. He said he returned home from work after 11 that night, took a shower, and shared a bottle of wine with Stephanie on the couch. The conversation in the living room evolved when Stephanie said she'd been on the phone earlier with Nikki's father, her ex. The mood became confrontational when they discussed Peterson's upcoming trip to New York for a 2-week culinary training. She goes into the bedroom and she comes back out. She has the gun in her hand and she cocked it back and she goes, "Russell, I'm gonna shoot you." And I put my hands up and said, "Steph, what are we talking about here?" Peterson explained to the police. And then the gun was a Ruger Red Hawk 44 Magnum revolver. And according to the police report, Peterson claims Stephanie shot at him, but missed before he followed her into their bedroom for the final shot. And the investigators asked him, "Where was the gun when it went off in relation to you and here? Waist high, head high, in between you? Were you close together or far apart?" So Peterson responds back to the investigator, "No, we were not far apart. We were close together. I can't give you exacts on that. It all happened so fast. I don't know. I mean, we were there. There was a struggle. Next thing I know, there was a pop and she dropped." End quote. This is a statement to the investigators the next morning after the accident. Now, the interview reveals Peterson didn't call 911 until after deciding where to place the gun. "I didn't know what to do, and I didn't want to be accused of murder, of anything like that." So he picked up the gun, and he stated, "I put it in the holster. I put it back in the closet. I brought it back down, and I said, 'No, that's stupid. It's happened. There's nothing you can do about it at this point. And I set it back there on the ground, and you guys came," Peterson explained to the investigator, end quote. So right now, reports say that her daughter, Nikki, had no idea her mom was dead at that moment until her sister shouted to her. Quote, "She kept saying, 'Papi killed mommy, Papi killed mommy,' and kept repeating it," Nikki stated in a statement. Police say the 3-year-old admitted that although she saw her mother on the floor, she did not witness the shooting. So, who actually pulled the trigger during this heated struggle, and what caused Stephanie to grab a gun she had never used? Peterson stated during an interview, "We had a good and a semi-bad relationship, just as relationships go. After the first time, the gun was never grabbed before," end quote. The investigation goes deeper, then it runs into some problems. At times, he was referred as a suspect. In others reports, he was referred to as investigated lead. That this is based on the Sedona police sergeant Laura Leon, who is now on the case looking for new information and hoping to speak to Peterson almost 30 years later. And she is working at the moment on the case. She's trying to get this case resolved and hopefully some sort of justice. The medical who performed Stephanie's autopsy ruled the manner of death a homicide, and his name is Dr. Philip Keene with Maricopa County. Back in 1993, the investigators did refer to Peterson as the suspect, submitting the case to the Yavapai County Attorney's Office twice, but the prosecutors declined to file charges due to insufficient evidence. It is only, of course, Peterson's side that they had on hand, so that did make it difficult, stated Sergeant Leon. It's been a complicated case because without evidence, it's hard for them to prosecute. Investigators asked Stephanie's sister, Wendy, if she ever first threatened to kill him, then kill herself or her 2 kids in the house. So this is what the investigators are asking Wendy, if she's ever heard Stephanie mention anything threatening like this. And she replied, no, she loved her kids. She was a perfect mom. She decorated all the time. She spent a lot of time with her girls, end quote. So she has no records, no history of threatening her kids or herself. She was stable, mentally stable. She loved her family. She loved being a mom. Sergeant Leon said during the interview, she said, the big question is, did she commit suicide or did Peterson participated in her dying that night? End quote. The medical examiner did make a key observation about Stephanie and the gun residue on her hand. So for Nikki, nothing matters more than finding out what exactly happened inside her home on July 9th. I have been personally in touch with her, discussing. She's been assisting me and giving me authorization to share this case, bring awareness to this case, hopefully to put more pressure on authorities to pursue the person that's being seen right now as a suspect. We are hoping that I'm gonna work on a second part of this, and I will schedule and continue talking to Nikki about this, and I will bring her on hopefully for an interview, and I will keep everybody posted on this, so make sure you keep an eye on that. I'm gonna read to you a statement Nicole gave to authorities, and this is a quote that she stated: when I have people tell me that it's a suicide or an accident or whatever you want to say, I know it's just a blatant lie. My mom would never touch a gun. Her 2 children were sleeping just feet away, Nikki said, end quote. And according to the medical examiner's report, the bullet entered through the left side of Stephanie's neck. Dr. Philip Keene told police he was calling the manner of death a homicide after learning Stephanie was right-handed, her right-handed dominance. So the report shows positive findings of gunshot residue on her left palm, not her right hand. So if you're a right-hand person and you're going to shoot yourself, or hold a gun, you will use your dominant hand, not the opposite. So that brings a lot of questions to the investigation. Now, on September 3rd of 1993, less than 2 months after the shooting, Peterson met with investigators for the last interview, and at this time, his story has changed. Quote, he stated to the authorities, I don't think there was a struggle. The struggle was my own struggle. I wanted to grab her. Why did you shoot at me? Stop the madness. Why did all this happen? You never gave me the chance. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened, he kept repeating. I may know. It'll come to me. I don't think I ever put my hands on her, Peterson recalled. End quote. This time, Peterson told police he saw Stephanie fall from distance. The month prior, investigators simulated the shooting with a model of a .44 Magnum revolver. They found a woman of similar size frame to attempt the same angle of the bullet entry through the left side of her neck. There was difficulties pulling the trigger with a one-handed double action. It finally worked with a simulation of a struggle between 2 people. So the medical examiner also told investigators he believed Stephanie was in a defensive posture when she was shot based on gunpowder residue on her left palm. We put the evidence together and it's like the evidence is showing that 1, she did not commit suicide. There was no one else present in the room, correct? A detective asked Peterson.